All right, let's get going. For those of you I've not had a chance to meet, my name is Scott Beebe, and actually started Business on Purpose about 8.5 years ago. Typically on our masterclasses, it's our team members, our coaches, our director of client connections, all doing this. But today we're on a rotation, and Kevin asked if for August that I would do a masterclass, and I thought, wow, this is really good timing, based on some of the cool things that have happened to us the last couple of months. So I want to share those with you. Couple ground rules as we get started that I want to make you aware of. Number one, over the next 30 to 45 minutes, that's all I'm asking you to be here. You did not pay any dollars to be here, but you are paying with your time and attention. It is going to be very, very easy, almost seamless for you to be wildly distracted on your phones, on your computers, on your emails this entire time. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I've got a notepad right here. I'm going to ask you to get a notepad and a pen, take your hands off of the keyboard, remove everything else off your screen, and I want you to take written notes, all right? I'll have slides, and I've got probably, 40 or 50 slides, so I'm trying to keep it quick for you, just so you know, but I'm going to ask you to take notes because you've bought this time. Please don't buy it back with chaos, all right? Let's not dive back into chaos during this time. I want you to be focused. I want you to be locked in, because I think this is going to be very valuable. And I will warn you up front, it's going to cost you a lot in terms of momentum and focus and all of those things. All right, ready to get started? Here we go. The other thing, feel free to chat any questions you have as we go, and then I'm going to queue those up so that we can make sure to get to some Q&A for anybody who needs help. Okay, let's lock in. In March 2015, we started Business on Purpose. Still kind of baffles me to think we're 8.5 years into this experience. And it was our humble effort to try to liberate owners from chaos so that you could make time for what matters most. Today, as I mentioned before, this is the team that works really, really hard, really, really feverishly, and has a lot of fun. DJ, actually, who's on this call, sat in on our team meeting, which, by the way, those of you who we work with as clients, you're welcome to sit in on our team meeting. And you can watch how Thomas runs those. And it really is insightful to see how that goes. Well, DJ sat in on our team meeting this morning and saw, everybody was there this morning. And this is the highly equipped team that work with owners just like you to try to liberate them from the chaos of working in your business. Now, as we built this over the last 8.5 years, here's what we saw. We saw that most business owners were tired of feeling like more money is going out the back door than is coming in the front door. We saw a lot of business owners, just like you, were tired of seeing net income numbers, but no cash in the bank. Tired of doing it sort of the way that, we've always done it. Tired of chasing checks. Tired of feeling reactive all the time instead of proactive all the time. And then we asked, it was an entrepreneur out of Nashville, Tennessee. How do you describe chaos? Here's what he said, and I quote, Monday through Friday. That's how he described chaos. Many of you are tired of being chickens running around with your heads cut off, tired of not having a life outside of a business, and tired of being jaded and burnt. Those phrases that I just read you are all phrases that we have heard directly from business owners just like you. We're not making those up. Owners wanted freedom to be able to work on their business while raising up a powerful team to work in the business every single day, and then live out the mission that you so clearly see. That's why many of you got into this business. And so in 2023, this year, Ashley and I, my wife and I, have made a remarkable and life-changing string of milestones, all at the same time. They all hit within about 3 to 4 months. For 56 seconds on April 7th, 2023, I walked my daughter down a long aisle with my last name, and then a guy named Luke walked her out of that aisle with his. On June 5th, our last child graduated from high school. On June 6th, Ashley and I celebrated 25 years of marriage. So we're now into our 26th year. And then on June 30th, for those of you who are at the Houston Build Expo, you might remember me talking about this, all right? June 30th, I deleted my email. I deleted Slack. I deleted all forms of communication, and for 31 days did not turn my cellular data on, meaning I did not accept a phone call for 31 days. And I gave a mission to our team of 8, not including me. And that mission was very simple. Grow the business by one client. Grow the business by one client. which, by the way, today we work with 76 business owners around the country. And so our goal was to grow by, 1.5% while I'm gone. And upon return, guess what? They grew the business by one client. Now, it was not without drama and a lot of things that they were nervous about and excited about. So the question ultimately is, how did we do that? Even if you don't want to do that, even if you have no desire to do that, how did we do that? How did the business not implode, and how instead did it grow? And the ultimate question is, could you do that? Right now, could you leave the business for 31 days, or as you saw in the title, even just 2? All right, 2 days. Could you even do that? And Sean, I saw you put there days off in the business. Were those 31 days off? It was 31 straight days. All right. And so what is that? 4.5 weeks, something like that was what it was. And yes, they were continuous. They were contiguous. So it was whatever, I think it was Thursday, June 30th, all the way through Sunday, July 30th, I think it was. And I went that whole time, no email, no Slack, and my cell phone was completely off. Now, in full candor, Ashley was with me. She was available to the team for about 2 of those 4 weeks, but the first 2 weeks, we were completely off the grid. Some of you might be asking, well, what's the point of leaving anyway? Beyond just creating a business that you could sell, some of you don't even want to do that. There are 3 values of running a test period for your business to run without you. So take out of your mind for a second that, well, I don't really want to sell my business, or I don't want my business to necessarily run without me. That's not the point. My question is, could the business run without you? And what would happen to the business if something happened to you? So here are the 3 values by running this test period from your business. Number 1 is you get to test the systems that you have built. And for those of you who we have the privilege of being able to work with, you know what that looks like, right? Vision, mission, values, master process roadmap, 12-week plans, your org charts, your job roles, your level 2 dashboards, your subdivided bank accounts, all of those things we talk about incessantly. And sometimes you roll your eyes at us, and that's okay. But you get to test those systems in real time. The second value of creating a business that can run without you is you get to realize that if something happens to you, yes, the business can run without you. One of our team members asked a very powerful question one time. Hey, if something happens to you and Ashley, how do we get paid? It was sobering. The answer was, I don't know yet. And so what we did is we actually built a system showing team members in case of emergency. We literally have our processes in a safe, and one of our team members knows where the key is to that safe. And all those more private processes are locked away that they can get access to. The third value of running a test period for your business is your team gets to lean into some real opportunity. And this is probably the greatest value. But how do you go about doing this? Well, you start by choosing delegation instead of abdication. Now, I'm assuming that you are in the midst of writing notes down right now, right? Because your hands are off the keyboard. You've closed everything out. You're locking in this time that you've paid with your time and attention. This is a good one to write down. Choose delegation instead of abdication. The influential Andrew Carnegie said, no person will make a great business who wants to do it all him or herself or get all the credit. Remember Don Rumsfeld? He was the man who served 2 different terms as Secretary of Defense for the United States. He's since passed, but he was both the youngest and the oldest person to ever serve that post. He was a practitioner of delegation, was quoted by saying this: "Don't be a bottleneck. Don't be a bottleneck. If a matter is not a decision of the president or you, delegate it. Force responsibility down and out. Find problem areas, add structure, and delegate. The pressure is to do the reverse. Resist it." Now, we cannot seem to help ourselves. We feel like we have to do it all, right? This thing's going to fall apart without us, whether it's a function of a lack of support around us, which is usually our fault for not recruiting well. A little nod to Nicole with Bosun, who does a great job of searching for people. So it could be our lack of support, which is a lot of times what's going on. Or in some cases, it's an unhealthy sized ego, which is always our fault. Delegation has been a challenge literally since the beginning of time. In fact, if you go back in the annals of history, you'll see some powerful stories of people not willing to delegate. Great news, though, about delegation. When it's done right, it will change the game for you. The author, John Maxwell, who wrote one book, I think 28 times, it's a little joke for those of you who read his stuff. He said this: if you want to do a few small things right, do them yourself. If you want to do great things and make a big impact, learn to delegate. So let's start with what delegation is and what delegation is not. All right, get your pens ready, get your papers ready. Let's take some notes. Number one, delegation is a transferring of authority. Craig Rochelle said this. He's a pastor of a church, I think in the Southwest. I can't remember, but he said this: when you delegate tasks, you create followers. But when you delegate authority, you create leaders. Stop for a second. The people that are in your business, are they followers or are they leaders? When you delegate tasks, you create followers. When you delegate authority, you create leaders. I did not put this on a slide, but I want to tell you a quote that we've been talking to a lot of our owners who have been with us for about 5 years or more. And I want you to think about this statement. Your business will grow in direct proportion to your willingness to say, I don't know, to questions you clearly know the answer to. I'm going to say that again. Your business will grow in direct proportion to your willingness to say, I don't know, in response to questions you clearly know the answer to. You've heard it before. I think even John Maxwell said it. Everything rises and falls on leadership. The height of your leadership determines the height of your team's leadership. And when you transfer authority, you empower someone else to execute and achieve the results. Delegation is a transference of authority. It's also a powerful method of growth and margin. I recently read about some of the world's more remarkable leaders, Mark Cuban, Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates, and some of the habits they carry. Many of them read books for hours at a time. Bill Gates is notorious for going away for weeks at a time with bags of books. Well, how can he do that? Well, because he makes billions of dollars. No. He was doing that way before he made billions of dollars. You know how they can do that? They've delegated. They realize that the growth of their team and organization are dependent on their own growth. So they delegate to build margin for more growth. It's a growth snowball of sorts. The third element of delegation and the power of this idea of delegation is it creates a more stable product. Ultimately, that's what we need to be looking at. When you try to do all things every time, they're going to be done with varying levels of commitment and quality. But when you delegate one thing to someone else, it will have a greater level of integrity and quality because it's what they do all day. They're not trying to just stuff it in like you try to stuff it in. So let's talk about what delegation is not. Number one, delegation is not a transfer of responsibility. Wait, I thought you just said it was a transfer of authority. Yes, but ultimately you are responsible for those things. So you don't get to abdicate your responsibility. Jocko Willink, in his powerful book, Extreme Ownership, is a punch-you-in-the-mouth reminder that even though delegation pushes down, leadership, authority, and ownership pushes up. By the way, I see Sean just put a great question in there. Before I answer that in a few minutes, I would love to see somebody else answer that for Sean, because many of you have had to push through that boundary. Training begets delegation. This is why training is so crucial and why it cannot be the first thing to go when time gets tough. Training begets delegation, which begets quality and efficiency, which begets serious competitive advantage and growth. You stop training, you lose your competitive edge. A lack of training begets frustration. And a lack of training spirals in a decline to the wheels falling off of an organization. Scott, I don't have time to train. Then make time. Hey, listen, we're coaches here. We're going to punch you in the mouth. We're not going to let you get by with excuses. Make time. The second thing that delegation is not is an abdication of task. An abdication of task. Healthy delegation lays out a clear role, step-by-step training, and ongoing accountability and coaching. Unhealthy abdication simply says, here, go do this, and then we move on. Abdication is evidence of our own self-centeredness. Oh, I hope you're not offended. Maybe. Abdication is evidence of our own self-centeredness, whereas delegation serves. Yeah, but Scott, how do I know the difference between micromanaging? I don't want to be I want to delegate, but I don't want to micromanage. Whoa. Let's talk about this issue of micromanaging. Some of you have seen this before. Let me introduce you to the seesaw of predictability. How do we know if we're micromanaging? It's really easy. You ask the right question at the wrong time, you're micromanaging. You ask the right question at the wrong time, you're micromanaging. But if you ask the right question at the right time, that's healthy leadership. I mentioned before DJ, an owner out of Myrtle Beach who owns a concrete coring company. They're all over the state of South Carolina, cutting concrete on the interstates. DJ sat in on the Business on Purpose Tuesday morning team meeting this morning. And what he saw was the right time. What he also saw was a lot of the right questions. Thomas, who leads that meeting, was asking us about our 12-week plans, was walking us through our culture calendar, many of the things we've walked some of you through. And he was doing it at the right time. You know what he was not doing? He was not asking us about 2016 sales numbers, 2018 marketing strategy, and he wasn't asking the right questions on Friday night at 11:30 p.m. via text. He was asking the right questions at the right time. Richard Branson, the serial entrepreneur from England, said this: if you really want to grow as an entrepreneur, you've got to learn to delegate. But how? So I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step innovative tool that you can use to begin delegating right away. So I want you to know up front, this will require time and humility. Now, some of those who are clients of ours and you're our heroic business owners, you're going to look at this and go, well, Scott, what value is this? I think I've done this with one of my coaches before. Yes, you have. But have you continued to do it on a regular basis? Usually about twice a year is a good time to refresh and update. So guess what? This is your time. I want to welcome you to the Delegation Roadmap. So before actually starting the tool, you're going to need to set aside a quiet 25 to 30 minutes in order to give some great attention to delegation up front. By the way, feel free to take a screenshot of anything that I throw up here. It's all yours, all right? So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to go to your calendar right now. If you're on your computer, go to your calendar. If you've got a calendar in front of you or if you've got your phone. Now, I want to warn you, as soon as you go to another screen on your computer, you're going to be distracted because chaos is waiting to punch you in the mouth in the form of an email, in the form of a Slack message, some emergency that's come in. Don't take the bait. Just go to your calendar, and I want you to pick 30 minutes right now. And I want you to do it by the end of this week. So I'm going to pause. It's going to be really awkward, but I want you to go to your calendar right now. So I'm going to give you about 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Go to your calendar. I want you to find that in there. What's your 30 minutes that you're going to take, and you're going to leverage that time to actually go build this out? All right, let's keep going. Ready? Okay. Now that you've got the time scheduled, the first thing I want you to do during that time is I want you to write every single task down that you do in your business. I mean, everything. If you answer the phones, like Sean put down there, he's by himself. He answers the phones. He does the estimating. He does the cleaning. He does the pickup. He does everything in his business. If you answer the phones, write it down. If you respond to social media, write it down. If you take out the trash, clean the windows, go on sales call, make bank deposits, sit through industry meetings, whatever you do, write it down. Small task, big task, write it down. Also, write down everything that you would like to be doing in your role. Some of you got into this business, you loved it, and now as you've grown, you're not able to do the things you used to love to do. Write those things down too. All right, now once you have that, again, you're going to do this in that block of time that we talked about. The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to move to the next category, and that is writing this down with our time. Time is the most valuable commodity that you have. You cannot create more. You cannot buy more. You cannot recapture what is lost. In the low country of South Carolina, we have this saying that says, the tide waits for no man. Well, it's true of time also. It waits for no woman. It waits for no man. You can either spend it doing tasks that you don't like, but others would love. Yes. Did you hear what I just said? There are other people who actually love to do payables, supply chain management, scheduling, keeping an office clean. They actually like to do that. And you can pay them to do that. Or you can spend your most valuable asset doing the things that will bring huge value, not only to you and your business, but also to the team members that work with you and the customers you have the privilege and responsibility to serve. So in this column, I want you to write down the average amount of minutes it takes you to complete the task each week. The next column is your energy, up, down, or neutral. There are one of three possibilities to indicate when you're filling this thing out. Does this give me energy? Does this task give me energy? Does it suck me dry? Or is it like, whatever. So if the task gives you energy when you completed it, then just type the word up. If the task sucks the life out of you and you leave more drained than when you started, then type the word down. If the task leaves you thinking that's okay, it's no big deal, whatever, then mark it with a neutral. It's that easy. Up, down, or neutral. Does it give you energy? Does it suck the life out of you? Or is it somewhere in between? The next category is to actually rank these tasks. If this is something that only you can do, now I want to reiterate that. If this is a task that only you can do. So let me go back to Sean. Sean, I appreciate you putting in there that you were that you're a one-man shop. So Sean would go, well, I'm the only person who can do this. No, that is not true. You can hire a person or a machine to do the majority of the things that most of us do in our business. So there should not be many ones. One of the ones that you should write down that everybody should have is the vision story, writing the vision down. Only you can do that. And so anything that only you can do that you cannot hire a person or machine to do, put down as a 1. But if it's a task that you think could be delegated, but you're being a little bit ornery about it, then I want you to write a 2. If this is a task that you know you can delegate and you should have done it a long time ago, but you just haven't, like bookkeeping, then write a 3. Again, you should have way more 2s than 3s than you do 1s. If you have a lot of 1s, you need to reevaluate how important you see yourself in the business. It's not healthy long-term. Remember, great leaders cannot go to higher levels without great people. President Roosevelt said this: the best executive is the one who has the sense enough to pick good people to do what he wants done and self-restraint to keep from meddling while they do it. Let me go back to my phrase. Remember what I said? Your business will grow in direct proportion to the willingness that you have to say, I don't know, to questions you clearly know the answer to. A list of 1s may reveal the desire that you have to meddle. So we need to change a lot of those 1s, 2, and 3. So go ahead, and when you sit down, I want you to rank your task, and then you can move to that next column because your time is worth way more than you think it is. How much? Scott, how much is my time worth as a business owner? Actually, most estimates value the time of a business owner as around $200 to $1,000 per hour. And for some owners, it's actually even more than that. Let's think about this. Let's say you still do your own invoicing. That's a job you could pay somebody $30 an hour to do. I'm just using a round number. If your conservative hourly rate as an owner is $200 an hour and invoicing takes you 1 hour per week, then you're costing the business roughly $10,400 per year in 52 hours of time. Remember, it's not just the money. It's the lost time and what you could be doing with 52 hours for the vision of the business. But if you delegated that task with great training and to someone else at $30 an hour, then that same task will cost the business $1,560 and you gain 52 hours of work back. Do you get that? So it's about an $8,000 delta and 52 hours in a year. Do you think you can make $1,600 in 52 hours to offset the cost and get your time back? Of course you can. Don't get lost in the dollar figure. And you can look back at it every time. All right. So in the time column, be honest about the amount of time each task consumes every single week. Average it out. Be honest. Okay. You've got a powerful list that you can use to change the game in your business and start thinking more like an owner and a coach rather than a worker in your business. So how do you implement the delegation? From the powerful roadmap, you will take all the 3s that you've put down in that rank category and make a plan to immediately begin delegating 2 or 3 of those right away. Usually I look over at the time category and go, hey, which of those 3s has taken the most time? And then I look at the energy and go, which one is neutral or down? Meaning those are the things I loathe and they take the most time. Let's see if we can start there. Then we'll take the 2s and make a long-range plan to eventually delegate those items as well. Now, for those of you who are clients of ours, you need to let your coach know what those 3s are that take a lot of time so that we can hold you accountable to getting those things done. If you don't know what 2s and 3s to prioritize, just start with the ones that take the majority of time. And when you have a short list of 2 to 3s ready to delegate, here's a series of questions you can ask to go down the road of the implementation. Number 1, who will you delegate it to? Name someone or a machine. Sometimes software can take this, but put a name. Number 2, how will you train that person? Scott, I don't have time. Remember, we're going to make time to train. Scott, I don't know how to train. Well, the next time you do the thing, follow systems mindset. Record it like it's the last time you ever have to do it. Put it on a video, put it on a document, whatever. Capture the process and put it down. Number 3, how are you going to track their progress to taking it over? Well, you're just going to meet once a week in your team meeting, or maybe a 5-minute set-aside check-in meeting or whatever, and you're going to go, hey, how's it going? And we're going to check in on the progress of that. And then number 4, when will that thing get started? And you put a date. The final missing piece to all this, honestly, is implementation. Listen, I will take a half-baked plan with full implementation versus a perfect plan with half-baked implementation. We quote Joe Calloway all the time around here because his statement was so powerful. Vision without implementation is hallucination. Vision without implementation is hallucination. So here's a summary of what you need to get started. Number 1, if you didn't follow my lead earlier, go make time on your calendar right now. Number 2, create a copy of the delegation roadmap. Number 3, fill out the delegation roadmap. And number 4, delegate and follow up every single day. I want you to ask yourself this question. In fact, you've got your notes out. You've got a pen. Answer this question. What has not delegating cost you? What does not delegating cost you? And don't just talk about the business expense. We have another saying here, life and business necessarily intersect. I want to know what has not delegating cost you in the business and what has not delegating cost you at home. So I want you to take about 30 seconds and answer that question. What has not delegating cost you in the past? So go ahead and write it down. What has not delegating cost you in the past? So I'm curious, is anybody courageous enough to put their answer in the chat window? I think it would be very beneficial to a lot of your peers to see what has not delegating cost you in the past. Sean, you put time. Sean, I'm curious, that time, what has the loss of that time cost you? So a couple other people, put the answer to that question in there. What has not delegating cost you in the past? Archie, you put happiness. Jessica, sleep, 100%. And I think you could see I could keep drilling down, right? What has a lack of time cost you? What does a lack of happiness cost you? What does a lack of sleep cost you? DJ, you talked about time. Time with Anna, time with your friends. Scott, you talked about peace of mind. One of the best responses I ever got, I was actually a business owner in Atlanta. And I said, hey, man, what do you want? It's a question we ask most of the people we talk to. You know what he said? One word, peace. Peace. Meg, it's cost you growth potential. Ah, yes. Sean lost time and money. Maybe the dumpster girl right there. Dumps, full focus on more important task. So I think you could see that and just follow that downstream. All right. So here's what I want you to do. First, there's a few of you that we don't work with, and I want to let you know that we help solve that chaos problem. That's what we do. How do we do it? We work with business owners, just like the people that you see on the screen, just like the people in some cases that you see in this masterclass. We work with a fair number of people that are in this masterclass right now. You're the majority owner. You're $500,000 or more in revenue. You have 2 or more employees, and you have a real desire to grow. There are some cases that we will work with people who are solopreneurs, but they're ready to grow and just don't know how to do it. So there are some of those cases that we do, but typically that's the sweet spot of who we work with. Majority owners, $500,000 or more in annual revenue, or headed that way. 2 or more employees, or if they're solopreneur, they're ready to grow and they have a real desire to grow. And quite frankly, an optimism that they can grow. They may just not know how to do it, or they're swimming in chaos and they can't get out. Why do we do that? Because we want to build people, purpose, profit, and process. And by the way, these aren't just pithy sayings. We have a roadmap for every bit of this, starting with our installation roadmap. That's where most of our clients start out for the first couple of years. And the goal is to liberate them from the chaos of working in their business so that they can make time for what matters most. Now, we've got a string of roadmaps downstream. We've got the implementation roadmap after that, the executive leadership roadmap, and a brand new legacy roadmap that we've just introduced and we'll be rolling out in November to our clients during November Prep Week. Hint, hint, wink, wink for all of our clients who are on this masterclass. That's coming just a couple of months away. And so we want to have an opportunity to be able to bring this freedom to you. And so Brandon Gray, one of our coaches, has actually adjusted his busy schedule, and he has created 8 what we call clipboard appointments. Why do we do that? Well, anybody who's been at a Build Expo, you realize that instead of us standing at the booth just waiting to shake hands of 90% of the people who are a little bit strange for trying to find the 10% like you, what we decided to do is move to actual appointments. So when we're in a Build Expo, after I get done speaking, we actually set appointments to meet with people, and it's worked out great. We've had much better conversations and more intentional conversations. Well, Brandon has done the same today. And so for any of you who want an additional 30-minute or 25 minutes of just no strings attached coaching from one of our coaches around this idea of the delegation roadmap, then all you have to do is you have to send me a chat message, and you can either send it directly to me, or if you don't mind other people seeing it, that's no problem as well. You send me a chat message, and all it needs to say is appointment, please. Put your name and your phone number. That's it, just in the chat window. And again, you can put the chat directly just to me, I think, or it's actually to My Business on Purpose, I believe, is what I'm under right now. So you can send that chat directly to My Business on Purpose on the chat window. And again, just put appointment, please, your name and your phone number, and Brandon's going to follow up with you. And he will tell you what time that you guys will be able to meet. And if for some reason that specific time doesn't work out, we'll see if we've got any time slots left, and he will hop on there with you. Listen, we do these master classes. We do speaking engagements to serve you. If you have questions about how we work with you, great. We'll tell you that too. And we'll walk you through, and we're perfectly ready for it. And we can show you and demonstrate a lot of value that we bring. In fact, you can just ask a lot of the clients that are on this call. They're on this call for a reason, because we constantly deliver on what we say we're going to pull through. All right. So just put that up there. Appointment, please. Put your name and put your phone number. So, and I'll come back so that you've got that there, and I'm going to put them in touch with you. Okay, so here's what I want to do. I'm going to move into a time of Q&A. So I know we have one question Sean asked earlier about what if I'm a one-man show. So I want you to put that down there as well. By the way, Jessica Van Brunt is like our cheerleader in Dallas. She does an amazing job. When I was at a Build Expo, Scott, I might actually get you to do this in Atlanta since you're going to be there. I had Jessica come up at the end of my talk and just tell her experience. And so anytime she's on, man, she's just the best cheerleader. She does such a great job. And what her and Richard are building is amazing. So again, just put appointment, please, in a direct message to me along with your name and phone number. And then I want you to put down any questions that you have right now. So go to your chat window about the delegation roadmap, about those ideas of time, rank, energy. What task should I put on there? How do I actually go about getting this to somebody else? I want you to put those questions down right now. And one of you who sent me a message, I'm going to send you one back. Okay, so I've got that in there as well. And again, if you want 25 minutes with Brandon to work through this delegation roadmap with a little bit more detail, or if you just want to learn how we work with business owners just like you, then just write in their appointment, please, your name and phone number. We'll get back we'll get that back to you. Hey, I'm curious. Sean asked the question earlier, and again, put your questions down in chat. But what if I'm a one-person show? What if I'm a one-person show? How do I delegate? So I'm curious, before I respond to that, I'm curious if any of you have the courage to come off mute who have actually busted through. I mean, I have too, but I want to hear from you that have busted through this ceiling and want to respond to Sean about that. So does anybody want to come off mute and talk about how you went from a one-person show to actually delegating as one person and also bringing on more people? And by the way, if you just come off mute, I can see the microphone and I'll call on you. I think that was Jessica. There you are, Jessica. You got a response for that? Oh, it's cutting in and out. I can hear you trying to talk, but we can't hear you. Why don't you write a little response in the chat window if you're able to be able to do that? You might be on the road. Anybody else? When Sean asked, but I'm just one person, how do I grow from that? How would you respond? All right. No problem. And if you have some thoughts, put it down in the chat window. But I'll say this. One of the things that we have found is as owners, we get a little too territorial about our stuff. And we think this, we call this the owner's curse in our executive leadership training. Nobody can do it like I do it. Nobody can do it like I do it. And so I don't remember who it was. It was John Maxwell or somebody. It was the 80% rule. If somebody can do a task 80% as good as you, it's time to delegate the task. If somebody can do a task 80% as good as you, it's time to delegate the task. But that's not the real worry. The real worry is once that person actually learns how to do it at 80% and then does it 120% better than you over time. That's where it becomes uncomfortable. And so we've got coaches on our team that do a better job of coaching than I do because they do it more often than I do. Now, I think I might do a pretty good job of speaking because I do it more often than they do, right? But we get better over time as we start to share these things that we've got. And then Jessica put down here, hiring VAs, hiring part-time people. We assume that we've got to hire full-time roles. Absolutely not. Our first 2 hires were part-time roles. Our third hire was a 1099 role, so effectively part-time, right? Now, we've got a full team of W-2s, but for the most part, we started out with part-time people. But here's the catch. Be very clear about what you're asking them to do. Repetition, predictability, and meaning is the goal. Be very clear about what you're asking them to do. If you're not willing to make the time to be clear, then don't bring somebody else in. But if you're willing to make the time to be clear, that'll be just fine. And so you make that time to be clear and then bring them in and start to delegate that task. Archie, come off mute. You had something for us.
Yes, sir. Archie, DGP Painting, Austin, Texas. So in 2019, I kind of fired everybody and went back to a solopreneur. And it was really just because leads became a commodity. And what we normally could get for $2, $3 a lead ended up being $50. And then Angie's List and all these people would sell it back to you. So I went back to the drawing board and started over as more of a referral marketing company. And in doing that, it was just me to get started. So the best way to get people to, whether you're going to, I started with a part-time 1099, and then from there I hired a full-time person. Then I hired another full-time person. Now I have another 1099 that just brought on part-time. And the main thing is just education, and what's common to you is not common to them. So just repeat yourself, teach at every possible moment. So one of the things that I always harp on the guys is, if you make a mistake, the most important thing is to own up to it right away. Then get together, because if you own up to it, I'm not mad. If you try to hide it, then I'm mad. So own up to it, then figure out a solution as a collective, and then what did we learn from this mistake and how to not make it again. And then just whatever your company philosophy is, whatever your goals are, whatever you're trying to implement in your company, you just have to repeat it. Sales techniques, production techniques, whatever you want to happen, you just have to say it so that when they get to the point that they're maybe training somebody else, it sounds like you, because you've told it, you've said the same thing to them 150 times. So it's so ingrained in their brain. And what we do is we do a lot of ride-alongs. So we'll start, so they do their own thing. And then once every couple of weeks, they ride around with me, and I go listen to their presentation at a quote. They listen to my presentation at a quote. We go to a job. They see what I'm looking for in the quality assurance part of it and all that. So, and it's just constant repetition of what you're doing. And currently right now, I'm on an 8-day vacation in Oaxaca, and I left the phone out with them. I'm not answering. I'm checking email maybe once every couple of days if there's something important or a client of mine, is accepting or something like that. But I've been able to let go over the last year and a half. And the main thing is just constant teaching, and just repeat yourself, because you know it by heart. Doesn't mean that they know it by heart.
Yeah. That's so great, Archie. Man, that's so clear. And I the thing I hope that everybody heard was the repetition. I put that down there. Obviously, that's a big thing, but you have to make time to do it. You have to make time to do it. There's no skirting it. Please don't go try to buy software to solve that. Please don't try to go buy training to solve that. Please don't try to go hire a coach to solve that for you. Like, at some point, a good coach is going to make you do that. When we actually recently talked to a business, they were evaluating us, and then they were evaluating another organization. that is in construction industry that sort of sells a business in a box. It's called a home building company, has all their processes mapped out. You just plug your name in. Please don't ever do that. Why? It's because they're not running their home building company the way you're running your home building or painting company or whatever. Those need to be built from scratch because they're your culture. They're the way you do your things. Now, there can be other things that are templated for sure to make it easy, but the reality is the repetition comes from the things that you started doing yourself, the things that are in your head. We've got to get those things, those proprietary things out on paper, and then boom, repetition. You could go, DJ heard it this morning in our meeting. He heard big wins. He heard write it down. Like he heard the things that we talk about over and over and over again because they're on repeat. Jessica even put up there first, write your process first, then delegate the process. Well, what's the curriculum? Write the process. Well, what's the outline? You tell me. How, in Jessica's case, how do you work up a patient? When a patient comes in the building, what do you do? What have you done? And start answering that question. What have you done? Capture that, and then that is what they will do moving forward. Daniel, you put in there, delegate a marketing presentation packet to my marketing manager. It's taking these things out. I got a question from our director of coaching earlier today. He was actually in a coaching meeting with one of his clients. And in that coaching meeting, they were working on a tool and a template that for us is outdated. And so I'll read you the text. Hey, remind me, are you supposed to be rebuilding our onboarding tutorial? He said, I'm thinking about putting it on my next 12-week plan. Ding, ding, ding. Another thing we talk about all the time. We have so much stuff that isn't represented in our module with hiring, pre-work, scripted 30 days, check-in, weekly schedule, scorecard. I think it deserves an expansion. We just build it out with XYZ client, and it is not an appropriate word for this conversation. That was the text that I got from him. And so the reality is he saw something that's not been updated, and he's got full authority to update that and now to come back and train all of us on that thing. Repetition, repetition, repetition around those things. And so if there's anything I hope that you've taken away from this is number one, that you've got to make time. So I made you go to your calendar, brain dump everything that's already in your head, and then repeat, 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 repeat. All right. So for those of you who are on this call that are our clients that we work with, I'm going to ask you to text your coach right now. Literally, I want you to text them right now and go, hey, I was in the Delegation Masterclass. I want you to ask me about it at our next coaching time. If you don't, I'm going to come turn your power off. I'm going to unplug your refrigerator at home. I'm going to make your life uncomfortable if you don't do that. All right. I really won't, but man, I don't know. Maybe. So I want you to text your coach right now. Scott's making me text you, telling me I just got off the Delegation Masterclass. And by the way, you better show up the next one too. Just because I gave you homework doesn't allow you to opt out of this thing. So text your coach, tell them that they need to follow up with you on your delegation roadmap to see when you make time to do it, because wherever you're at with it, it's always a good time to be able to update it. And twice a year is sort of what we look at. Again, I'll leave this slide up. If anybody needs an extra 25 minutes to work with Brandon, one of the members of our coach team, then just put direct message to me. We've already got a couple of people that are going to be doing that. So just direct message me. I'll get you in touch with Brandon. He'll reach out to you and set up one of those time slots for you to be able to meet. All right. Okay, gang, there you go. You've got the goods. You've got the tools. Now it's on you. All right. We've given you everything in your tool belt to be able to go start this delegation. Well, Scott, I thought it was supposed to be easy. Heck no. Heck no, it's not easy. That's why not everybody's starting and running their own business. This is hard. Not easy. It's hard. And so now let's go do the hard work of getting that done. Hey, guys, thank you all for your time and your attention. I hope this has been beneficial and helpful and encouraging to you, but also a little bit of a punch in the mouth, because that's what we do here. We punch and then we hug. All right. So I know I can't hug you right now, but we punch and then we hug and then we keep moving on so that you can be liberated from the chaos of working in your business. All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for making time. We'll have another masterclass in the month of September, so be on the lookout. You guys have been awesome. All right. A couple of you I'll see in the next few weeks. Jessica, I'll see you in, I don't know if you're coming down in September, but definitely in December when we come up there. So we'll see some of you and we can get all this kumbaya together. We can all hug each other together. All right, everybody. Y'all have a great rest of your week. Take care.